Everybody, it's Ned over My Philippine Dreams. Today is August 19th, 2020, day 160 something of quarantine here in the Philippines, and I'm going to do a short, hopefully short, video on how difficult it can be to find a decent house rental in the Philippines. But let me preface this by saying it was reported the other day by the government, it was actually a social survey that was conducted, that 45% of Filipinos are reporting that they don't have work. So basically self-reporting 45% unemployment. So as I get into this video, as I start talking about how difficult it is to find a decent or close to perfect house rental in the Philippines, let me note that it's a first world problem that I'm having, because a lot of people are having a lot of difficulty in the day-to-day here in the Philippines right now in simply finding work. Here in the Philippines, they call it no work, no pay. In other parts of the world, they have unemployment insurance, and they keep extending those unemployment insurance because some countries have millions and millions and millions of people that are unemployed. Here in the Philippines, they cannot benefit from the same. Hopefully, this is working. My internet connection's showing that it might not be working, but we're just going to continue. If you can actually hear me, please leave a comment. Okay, good. Yeah, Rizzo Blizzo says it ain't all unicorns and rainbows finding a house in the Philippines. It certainly isn't. It's difficult. It's a little bit stressful. It requires a lot of patience. It requires a lot of perseverance. Those are two things sometimes I'm lacking. So it's been particularly difficult for me. But once again, keeping in mind that the Philippines is self-reporting, Filipinos are self-reporting 45% unemployment. Take my suffering with a grain of salt. I've been posting a lot of videos, and I've been posting videos for years, some of the rental places that I go check out. I've been looking for the perfect 3-bedroom, 2-bath house now in the Dumaguete area for about 2 years, give or take. It's a process. I post a lot of those videos because people actually are interested in that type of stuff, and usually it elicits a lot of like negative response. People are calling them dumps, dives, it's not worth it, etc., etc., etc. And then they start posting that they're paying 8,000 pesos a month for a 4-bedroom somewhere, but it's usually like way out in the province, away from any amenities. So that's something to keep in mind. At this point, after all the research and all the rigmarole that I've gone through, it looks like a decent 3-bedroom, 2-bath is going to be costing about 25,000 pesos here in the Dumaguete area. For those in the U.S., that is $500 US. It's actually a little less because the dollar's not doing so great. Yeah, the internet connection is not good, but we're going to get into this. All right, so when I say decent or close to perfect 3-bedroom, 2-bath, there are some expectations that I have. First up is window screens. If you're going to be renting in the Philippines, if you're going to be living in the Philippines, and people that are here now or have been here before here know you need window screens. There's a lot of bugs, there's a lot of critters, there's all kinds of things flying around and crawling around, so you need window screens. Window screens aren't that expensive to get installed if you find a close to perfect place. But you really do need window screens because you don't want Zika, you don't want dengue. I've had dengue. You don't want malaria. I'm looking forward to that one. So you got to have window screens. If a place doesn't have window screens and they're asking like 20,000 pesos a month, that's basically a deal breaker right there. Also, security grates. Opportunistic crime, like everywhere else in the world, is an issue here. If there's no security grates and you're going to be leaving your house for an extended period of time, it doesn't take much wherewithal for somebody to come by and get into the house. And you don't want that happening. I know a number of people who have experienced break-ins. And even with security grates, if you have a table against a window and the window has security grates on it, and you got stuff like laptops or cell phones or cash sitting on the kitchen table by that window, they have ways of getting through the screen. You get jalousie windows. And they have ways of getting into to snatch up that laptop, phone, cash, or whatever it may be. They got long arms. They got long arms here in the Philippines. So security grates. If a house doesn't have security grates, and again, they're asking 25,000 pesos, I'm definitely going to pass on that. It's got to be a secure. And a lot of people, when they see the videos and they see the security grates, it's like, oh, it must be like living in a prison. But it's peace of mind. It doesn't stop people from breaking into your house, but it slows them down. Also, houses have to have walls. If it doesn't have a wall around it, I'm probably not going to give it much consideration. Barbed wire, broken glass at the top, whatever. I mean, it slows people down. I basically want the wall around it to keep the dogs in, the wall or whatever it may be, so the dogs don't go running off. Angel, I'm talking about you. Leave those boy dogs alone. Covered parking. I have a car now. Now that I have a family, and we're probably going to have more family coming, I actually purchased a vehicle, and I need covered parking because you don't want your vehicle sitting out in the sun here in the Philippines. We're close to the equator, and that sun is brutal. Not only will it fade your paint, but also if you got plastic stuff within like your doors, it can actually soften that material inside there. People have a lot of problems with window regulators. Window regulators are what bring the windows up and down, the power windows. And they have plastic parts. Usually it's a rotary type dial thing. It's a gear. And a lot of times those will soften up and get destroyed. So you want covered parking. If I find a really nice place, 25,000 pesos, and it doesn't have covered parking, I wouldn't mind investing in a little canopy to take care of that situation. A lot of people have those. Internet. I work online, so I can't have buffering pages, and I do a lot of research. So when I'm going page to page, site to site, it's got to be fairly fast. It's got to, load up pretty quickly. So if they don't have fiber optic access, PLDT is what I have right now. That's usually a problem because I'm not going back to DSL in the Philippines. And if you've had DSL in the Philippines and you've gone to fiber, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Hopefully sometime in the near future. Elon Musk says they're going to have North American coverage of Starlink by the end of this year. I don't know if this is actually going to happen. And he said, and this is only what he's saying, they're going to have worldwide coverage by the end of next year, by the end of 2021. 2020 is pretty much a wash at this point. And I just want to apologize. I want to take a moment to apologize for anything bad that I said about 2019. 2019, I miss you. All right, moving on. You got to have internet. Next up is noise. Roosters, dogs barking, karaoke, road noise. Those are all disqualifiers for some people. Roosters don't bother me. I've mentioned this before, and I'll say it again. When I'm back in the United States, I actually miss the roosters because it's like the soft susurration, the background. It's like the theme of the Philippines. It doesn't bother me. Barking dogs is an issue, and that's one of the reasons we're going to be leaving Pink House, because the neighbors all around us have gotten dogs. I think the guy behind us is actually breeding dogs at this point. So it's an issue. It's a problem. The best thing to do when you're checking out a house, and I'll do a video on this at some point when I get the wherewithal and motivation, is go to check the place out multiple times during the day and at night to see if there's any kinds of karaoke, barking dogs, all that stuff going on. Another thing that we're dealing with right now is we need to have hospital access. I'm a shareholder at Dumaguete Ace Hospital. We have a baby coming, and actually within like 2 weeks, about 2 weeks. So we have to have hospital access. We're going to be fairly close to the hospital within the Dumaguete general environs. I'd say the furthest I'd be willing to go out is Bacong or Sibulan. I'm not willing to go down to Darwin at this point, although I know a lot of guys live down in Darwin and absolutely love it. So we've got to have hospital access. Let me just check the stream, make sure it's still working. Okay, horrible connection. Yeah, speaking of internet, yeah, it should be buffering. It's showing a yellow bar on the stream right now. And I did a speed test before I did this, and I was getting 130 up and 130 down. So I don't know what the issue is. Just more fun in the Philippines. But let's continue, shall we? Next. yard. I have dogs, so I want at least a little bit of a yard for the dogs to be able to run around. Again, enclosed by a wall or some sort of fence of some sort. That's kind of important. I'd also like to have some trees for shade, because we're going to be talking about heat in a minute. And it's just nice to have a little yard. Here at Pink House, we have a little yard. It's not too big. It's not too small. It's just right. It's like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Compounds. We did a video this past week of a compound up in Valencia, and the houses were very nice. It's actually a French gentleman and his wife that own that compound. They put a lot of attention to detail and to all of their properties. The only problem is it's a compound. And somebody asked me on the channel, they left a comment, Ned, what's the big deal with compounds? And I just gave a single word answer: people. I really don't want to be living around other people, because you never know what you're going to get. There's a saying, walls and fences make for good neighbors, but when you're in a compound, you don't really have that option. Here in the Philippines, there's actually a wall enclosing you all in, so if you happen to get a neighbor who is a problem, that's now your problem. I got enough issues just dealing with myself and my own issues. I don't need to be dealing with other people's issues. Yeah, this is showing 1,500 kilobits per second up and down, which it's struggling with. All right, but moving along. Cleanliness and paint. This is actually low on the priority list, because if you find a really nice place, it's a fair price, it's a good deal, it's a good situation, I don't mind putting in the effort to do some cleaning and some painting to make it perfect and polish it up. So that's actually low on the priority list. Here in the Philippines, you'll notice a lot of times when you go check out places, they haven't really staged the place. They haven't prepared it for viewing. The grass might not be cut. There could be downed foliage all over the place. There could be food left, rotten food left in the refrigerator. The toilets, as you've seen in some of my videos, might not be flushed. These type of things happen. Also, there's grease and dirt and all that stuff. Usually, now there's a difference, and I've noticed this difference, and I'm going to talk about this briefly. You got Filipino landlords, Filipino landowners, property owners that rent out their place, and then you have foreigners that are involved. It's either the husband or the wife. Now, generally, I've noticed that the foreigners tend to present and stage the properties a lot better than the Filipinos. Now, with that said, I want to qualify it with this. I've personally experienced more drama, and I've known other people who have experienced a lot more drama and a lot more strife dealing with foreigner landlords than with Filipino landlords. That's just my experience. That's one person's experience. So I guess overall, it kind of balances out. And if you live in Dumaguete, you probably know who some of these landlords, these foreign landlords are that I'm talking about. I've had one incident myself, but I've known numerous other people who have had problems with foreigner landlords. All right, so cleanliness, paint, not an issue. Not a big deal. Road access. The compound we checked out the other day up in Valencia, the road was very rough. Actually, somebody went and checked it out themselves, and I noted that in the video. I said that the road was very rough. It was shockingly rough. It was like the roughest road experience I've had accessing a property in the Philippines. And we have a Hyundai Tucson. It's like a glorified station wagon, small SUV. I guess they call it a crossover, and it's pretty rugged. And it struggled on a couple spots. The wheels spun in the mud holes. So having road access, decent road access. Another issue you have in the Philippines, if you have a car, sometimes the properties like you're going to be checking out, actually this happened to me yesterday, these little alleys, these little right-of-ways that they have going off are really dangerous, and you can scrape the hell out of your car because, they're very narrow, and they're usually 90-degree turns off of it. So you got to be really careful with that. Finally, heat. What I've noticed is Pink House is generally 3 to 4 degrees cooler. That's Fahrenheit, because I'm American and we don't understand Celsius. It's 3 to 4 degrees cooler than the other places that I'm checking out. Here in Pink House, we got the Nipa roof over the carport, because our carport is all exposed concrete. If you have exposed concrete around your house, like a driveway, carport, any type of concrete pad, it's going to get to about 130 degrees Fahrenheit. And I've actually tested this. Direct sun exposure on concrete, you're looking at about 130 degrees Fahrenheit. And that heats up the house. And it not only heats up the house, but it continues to heat up the house because it releases slowly overnight. So the difference between the interior temperature of the house and the exterior temperature when you go out 3, 4 o'clock in the morning to do whatever it is you do at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning is noticeable. So we also have insulation in our ceiling, and that's worked out really well. So it's generally cooler. And a lot of the houses that I'm checking out don't have any shade at all. It's basically exposed metal roof and concrete walls. So it can get pretty hot. After years of looking for places in and around Dumaguete City, and this only applies to Dumaguete. This is my personal experience here in the city of Dumaguete, which is a province. Negros Oriental is a province. It's actually more expensive to live in other parts of the Philippines, such as Luzon, Cebu, those types of places. My experience is if you're looking for a nice, decent, or near perfect 3-bedroom, 2-bath, you're going to be looking at about 25,000 pesos, 20,000 on the low end. Again, that's just my experience. I don't like living in squalor and filth. Again, first world problems, right? Friends, right, fellow dreamers? I just don't like living that way. You're going to spend most of your time in the Philippines, at least in my experience, in your house, in and around your house. So you want something decent. And the reason we need a 3-bedroom right now is we need to get a yaya. We want to get a helper around the house because I'm still working. Chichai works. The baby, I think for the first 5 or 6 months, she's not going to be very mobile. So it's not like we're going to have to be chasing her around a lot. But when she becomes a toddler and she becomes mobile, we're going to need, more eyes on her to watch her. So we need an extra bedroom for the yaya. And we're going to be talking, I'll do another video on helpers at some point and what to look for and what to expect with that situation. Here's a quick hats off, tip of the hat to all of the helpers out there. Usually young women, it's usually 18 to 30-year-olds out there working for 3,000 to 5,000 pesos a month, 6 days a week with 1 day off a week, usually on Sunday, because that's when all the helpers go into Dumaguete City to hang around in the park and chica. So here's to them. That's got to be, I try to put myself in their shoes sometime, and it's got to be difficult. All right, so again, that's just my experience, and this is why I'm having a hard time finding the perfect or a very decent 3-bedroom, 2-bath. And a lot of the places that I've checked out recently, you can see some of these. It's either road access or it's too close to the road. It's like right on the road, and you're going to have all the traffic noise. Internet access, noise, that type of thing, not having security grates, not having screens. Some of these aren't insurmountable. Some of these you can deal with, like window screens. If you find a really good place and it's missing a few screens or a few security grates, that's something you can work on. All right, enough of me babbling. Let's go check out the comments, see if this is working. Yeah, Eric says, hope you are going to give her a decent pay. I know somebody actually paying, I think, 6,000 a month, which is very good. That's for a live-in helper. She is from, I forgot where she's from, Bayawan or something. 6,000 pesos, that's a good amount. Typically, you're going to see these young ladies getting 3,000 to 4,000 pesos a month. That's as a live-in. Plus, you got to pay food, you're providing board, all that stuff. A lot of times you got these big families out there that they got a lot of kids, they got a lot of mouths to feed, and it can actually help them. It benefits them to have their kids work as yayas, helpers, that sort of thing. And what they do, they're young. These young people typically send their money back to their family, and that's just the way the Philippines is. It's all about family. Ken Unger. Is Ken Unger, are you the gorilla? Jordan M says, morning, Ned. Been lurking in the background, have subbed and appreciate your points of view. Appreciate that. Thank you, sir. Much appreciated. Ken Unger says, don't like the compound living. You have more space to move around and kind of like living in your own little world. Yeah, plus one of the benefits of having a house with a wall around it is it's hot in the Philippines, so I spend a lot of time in my boxers, and I like to wander around in my boxers. And at 53 years old, I shouldn't be subjecting the sight of my 53-year-old body to my neighbors. So it's good to have the wall so you can, again, basically free ball around the yard. Tony Lee, Edward Annabelle. Edward Annabelle says, Ned, you have a lot of freeloaders chatting back and forth. They need to get their own channel. Mark Thomas Horner says, love your obsession with window screens. Seriously, though, I see their importance. Just kind of funny that they're always about the first thing in any of your reviews. Keep up the great work. Thanks. Yeah, I lived 6 months without window screens at the house in Darwin. If you go back far enough in my videos, you'll actually see the house in Darwin. It was great. It was on a giant lot. It had solar. It was right on the water. The only problem was it was full of bugs. It was also NEPA. It was also a lot of natural building on it. So the bugs were just really bad. And I'm not dealing with that. Rizzo Blizzo says, how about security, pit bull, and they're good with babies? Yeah, we have our barking Ascol. We have Bridget, who is very good at barking. Angel is not doing so well. She's got cancer. The cancer's getting bigger. Her vision's really bad. She can't basically see at night. So she's not doing so hot. But when you have barking dogs, and another thing, and I've talked about this before, when you live in a little cul-de-sac or a neighborhood, when the regular people come in, the dogs won't bark. But whenever a stranger comes in, the dogs all lose their shit, so you know something's going on. Somebody's out there who might be supposed to be there, might be a worker or something coming in, might be Noreko, but it could be somebody who's not supposed to be there. Tony Bassetti says, you got the good place already where you live. See if you want to rebuild in addition to accommodate one more bedroom. Yeah, I mean, Pink House has gone through changes. The neighborhood has gone through changes. We've had a lot of chainsaws chopping down trees lately, which drives Chichai crazy. And now that the trees are down, I'm sure we're going to be having a lot more hammering because it looks like they're going to be building another house here not too far from our lot. Also, the dogs have gotten insane. Like I said, the guy behind us, he's actually a high-level government functionary, so I'm not going to say any names. Looks like he's breeding dogs now. And whenever the workers come out, their helpers come out to feed them or walk around the yard, they all lose their minds. Bill Pruitt says, we have a 10-foot wall around our property and a big steel gate. Does that make it a compound? Large lot with a small house. Ha, ha, ha. Bill Pruitt, you bring up an excellent point. No, you don't live in a compound. It's your own house when there's a wall around it and everything. But having a smaller house on a big lot is preferable to having a big house on a small lot. That's, again, my opinion. I actually checked out, and I'll be releasing that video over the next couple of days. I went and checked out a house yesterday that was basically took up the whole lot. It wasn't a big lot. This house took up the whole lot. There was like literally this much space between the wall and the house. And the problem with that is when you got the 10-foot wall and you got the house and you got windows and everything, the breeze can't get over. Plus, there's no room for foliage, so it's all concrete and steel, so it heats up. Dave Jones says, internet issues today. You know what I think it is? I use OBS, and I think I'm streaming at 1080p, and even though I have fiber optic, I don't think the Philippines internet is actually able to deal with that, although it's showing green bar now. It's showing a green bar now. So I should be streaming at 720. I'm going to change the settings for the next one. Thank you, though. Thank you for telling me. Harry Eiserman says, a single-room condo in Manila, around $20K in nice neighborhood. Who cares? Yeah, I could not live in a condo. You've seen the sizes of the condos here in the Philippines. Usually if you get a 2-bedroom condo here in the Philippines, you're looking at 30 square meters. I have no idea how they fit 2 bedrooms into 30 square meters, but I've been in those condos numerous times, visiting people, stopping by and saying hi. It's nice to have the security on the first floor, and usually is a secured parking lot underneath the building. Also something to keep in mind, they had a 6.5 earthquake yesterday, and a friend of the channel, Carl, hi Carl, he was on the 18th floor of a condo in Cebu, and it was swaying very badly. And that's one of the things I think about whenever I go to Cebu or Manila and I see all these skyscrapers, and I think about, building codes in the Philippines. I get concerned about earthquakes because we are in the ring of fire here in the Philippines. We are surrounded by the ring of fire, earthquakes, volcanoes, and also, since the earthquake yesterday, 3 of the volcanoes north of us are now on level 1 alert. Michael W. asks a good question. Mark King, have I looked into a foldable home? No. Michael W. brings up a good question. Is there a realtor who you can hire to help you with your search? There's lots of agents. Usually when you see something posted on Facebook Marketplace, a rental property, you're going to be dealing with an agent. And some of the agents are good. Some of the agents are decent. But some of the agents are very difficult to deal with. Yesterday, I was supposed to meet somebody at 9:30 in the morning, and they showed up 45 minutes late. And that's just not professional. After 45 minutes, I said, you know what? I'm going to go now. Thank you, though. I appreciate, all this. Maybe we can do this some other time. So, yes, there are numerous agents. They're not like certified. They don't go through training. It's just people hustling, to put food on their table. God bless them. And again, when you find an agent and he's showing you a place, you can ask him, hey, do you know any other places that are available with security grates, window screens, the internet access, all that stuff. So that's something that you can use. In the United States, they have this centralized real estate database, MLS or something. I forgot what it's called. They don't have that here. I'm sure there are realty agencies where people list their stuff. But as far as selling and buying, usually you're looking at OLX.com. It's not OLX anymore. It's called something else. So no. Gary Lafferty says he was in a 6.2 earthquake in Digos. Jim D. Hi from Jim and Joyce and Antipolo. Best of luck with the search. Hopefully you'll find one before the baby arrives. Yeah, I'm just, it's just being patient. It's just waiting for something decent to show up. One other thing I want to note is with the current situation, with the quarantine and everything, people are expecting prices to go down. But in the Philippines, there's no accounting for how prices work. Even for sales prices, condos, houses, all that stuff, everything's staying about the same. Now, some of the landlords are experiencing difficulties with their people who are renting, the renters, being able to pay. I was actually communicating with somebody who hasn't been paid in about 5 months on 2 of his properties. And he's known these people for a long time, years that they've rented from him. So he's reluctant to evict them. They're trying to come out with some type of deal or arrangement to deal with it. Philippines and beyond, multiple listing services. Yes, MLS, multiple listing services. Yeah, they really don't have, there's nothing like that here in the Philippines. So if you're looking for a place to buy in particular, it can be a little difficult. Charity James, which 3 volcanoes are on alert? I forgot, but one's up in Negros Occidental, and I forgot where the others are. Rick Wyland asks, why don't you just build what you want? At some point, I am going to do that. Actually, I'm not going... From what I've seen and what I've experienced with other people building in the Philippines, I would prefer not to buy a lot and build a new structure. I would prefer, hopefully, at some point in the future, to find a place with good bones, a smaller place on a big lot, because I want a big lot. I want a big lot. I want to be far away from my neighbors. Nothing personal, future neighbors, but I want to be far away from them. And that's in the future. I still got stuff I have to settle. So, yeah. That's in the future. Probably like 5-10 years from now. I don't know. Tony Lee asks, Ned, what do you think of Valencia area of Dumaguete? I absolutely love the Valencia area of Dumaguete. Valencia is southwest of Dumaguete. It's up on the hill. Temperatures are usually cooler. The compound that we checked out the other day was actually up in Valencia. It's very lush. It's very tropical. Temperatures are a little bit less than in Dumaguete. A lot of foreigners are living up there. A lot of foreigners have houses up there. A lot of Europeans are up in Valencia. For some reason, there's not a whole lot of Americans. Hi, Corey. Oh, he's not in Valencia anymore. But yeah, Valencia is really nice. Plus, that central courtyard that they have, the center part of the city where they have the big open park and all that, it's super well maintained. They keep it super clean. They're actually fixing the road right now. Valencia is really, really nice. And it's one of the places that I'm considering to be in the future. Because I want to get out of Dumaguete. As soon as we get internet that we can use anywhere, dependable satellite internet, come on, Elon Musk and Starlink, the strictures of where I can and cannot live are going to be lifted somewhat. But Valencia is beautiful. Anybody who lives up there knows. Mark King says, Volcano Taal has erupted after 6.9 earthquake. Yeah, Taal, I believe, was one of the ones that was on alert. Okay, Canlaon, Bulusan, Taal, and Mayon volcanoes are under alert level 1. Yeah, because everything's connected here with these tectonic plates and everything. So when you get an earthquake, and it could be anywhere, it can affect a lot of other things. Mark Fryman says, Ned, have you ever thought of just moving out of Dumaguete if you can't find what you're looking for there? No, I like Dumaguete. Dumagueteño naco. I'm resident of Dumaguete. It's got my heart, it's got my soul. I like it. I like the people. It's not too big, it's not too small. It's got decent amount of amenities. So just gonna be patient. Plus, whenever I travel anywhere else in the Philippines and I come back to Dumaguete, it's good to be back home. Because other places that I've been, Topic Toad says, we have a 3-bed, 2-bath in Leyte, was broken in 3 times now. We have a 12-foot wall and 2 cane Corso guard dogs. All is well now. Yeah, it's good to have dogs. It's good to have dogs. Plus, I mean, you know, they need a home. There's a lot of dogs that don't have homes here, so you don't go out and you buy a German Shepherd puppy or, you know, a Rottweiler. You just grab an Ascol, you bring it onto your yard, give it some food, and they're loyal, they're smart, they're rugged as hell, you know, because they're used to the Philippines. Mark King says, you know what they say, home is any place you hang your hat. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I'm from New England, so I'm not used to earthquakes. I've only really experienced one earthquake, and that was when I first got here. It was in a movie theater, and we were watching King Kong. And all of a sudden, everybody starts running out, and I didn't know what was going on. And come to find out, it was an earthquake. And Filipinos are very quick to respond to earthquakes. So if you're ever anywhere in an enclosed space, and all of a sudden you see Filipinos running somewhere, follow them. Follow them. So yeah, the experience that I've had with agents is Plus, there's a lot of times you'll get to the spot, they have to wait for the owner to come with the key, or somebody it's not usually the owner, it's usually the owner's helper is sent with the key. So you can't negotiate directly with the owner, you're dealing with the agent, so everything's got to go through. It's a pain in the ass. Fish on Akabid says, how is Eep doing? Eep is our cat, is our deaf cat, is our challenged cat. She is doing very well. Eep is doing very well. She likes to eat. You know, she's a cat. She likes to eat, sleep, play, and shit. All right, so that's basically it. Thank you for everybody who's tuning in. I just wanted to talk about some of my experiences dealing with our house hunts here in the Philippines. Hopefully at some point we'll find something good. I hope people have been appreciating or learning something from my experiences here on our ongoing house search. I'd like also to thank the agents that I've interacted with, to thank the landlords. It's just a process, and it's a little more difficult when you got a baby on the way, you're a little stressed out, it's hot, it's humid, you know, all that other stuff. But again, I'm going to bring it back to this. Yesterday, with the social survey that was released by the government, with 45% of Filipinos reporting that they're out of work, my problems finding a nice house in the Philippines ain't all that stressful. You know, and that's something that you have to keep in mind. Again, and I've lost touch with this a bit, and this is something that I have to work on. When I first came to the Philippines, in the United States, I had lost a lot of gratitude. I just didn't have the appreciation I did for being born where I was. And when you come to developing nations around the world, you're visiting. First time I experienced this was in Honduras and Nicaragua when I was in the military. I had never seen poverty before. I had never seen people living in mud shacks. I had never seen people living day to day. I had never seen people begging on the side of the streets. So when I came here, I had that appreciation. I had that gratitude. I thought about it all the time. So whenever I was having problems or stressed out or anything, I could slow myself down and think about, you know, okay, it could be a lot worse. And here in the Philippines, sometimes you don't have to look that far to see those examples. Bill Pruitt says, my mother-in-law uses me like a guard dog when we are there. Granted, I have a long history in security and law enforcement. Finally, Tony Lee, thank you. We're gonna try to leave on a positive topic, on a positive note. Tony Lee says, Ned, I have seen 2 videos of your wife here playing her guitar and singing. I think she is very talented. Yes, she is very talented, and she plays guitar better than I do, plays piano, plays drums, she sings, and she is the most wonderful and sweet person I've ever met in my life. And I'm very fortunate. I am very fortunate. Not a day goes by that I don't think about this, that I was able to meet her, successfully court her after being brutally friend-zoned 3 times, and become my wife and the mother of our children. So, on that note, puppies, rainbows, unicorns, and successful house hunts to all. And I know this is a hard time for everybody. Just hope you're coping well and being well. And I'll see you next time on My Philippine Dreams. Peace, y'all.